it's just a state of fighting games. Period. Like it's not like when he mentioned it, he really probably he meant the state of fighting games. It's not just Tekken. This is all fighting games are getting this high octane in your face. I'm not getting off you. I'm gonna harass you the whole match. You're gonna sit there and take this, shut up, and be happy. Like that's what fighting games are kind of becoming. Like, I mean, you got Drive Rush and Street Fighter Six. It's like a very polarizing and volatile mechanic. Like it's like, yeah, it's fun to be able to cancel combos and stuff like that, but it's just it's very random. It's very hard to deal with at times. Like even when you go and practice it, sometimes the stuff you practice, sometimes it doesn't, it's not foolproof all the time. So really, like what he's experiencing is just like the state of fighting games. It's becoming more and more. You have to be so on your toes, and really most of your game plan is just making sure the other person does not play. Like when you look at the top meta of a lot of stuff, it could even go into card games. Like I was big into card games as a kid. I'm still into card games now. Like the meta is basically, especially games like Yu-Gi-Oh. The meta is when if I go first, you do not get a chance to retaliate. I win. That's the meta for fighting games a lot. If I touch you, you don't play. Like that's what like the rhetoric is for a lot of fighting games. Like if I touch you, you don't get to do anything. Next round. All right, cool. You good, cool. Like that's what it is. It's like I'm not going to let you play it. I mean, if you think about it competitively, that is the best way to ensure that you win. It's like if I don't let my opponent do anything, they can't win. So like that's a surefire win. It's unfortunate because I mean, like Rexon mentioned, you gotta add new stuff like that again for like people to watch the game and be like, ooh, and then they be like, I don't care about this game, but it look cool to watch. I remember people used to talk about Tekken 7 when like people would do, which I love, and it's crazy because like certain people love to watch this. I would love seeing a Tekken 7 match and watch people just like vie for space, like they just wave dashing, their KBD and back and forth, just trying to get that one hit. I love that. That's what I'm here for. When I'm seeing somebody play Street Fighter or something, they just like trying to get that crouching forward. They're trying to get that hit. I love that. Some people are like, man, it's boring, man. They ain't pressing no buttons. But the average casual person don't understand like what's going on in that moment. Is like a lot. It's a lot going on. When you see somebody in Tekken just they're inching forward and back, like that's a lot going on, even though there's nothing happening on screen. But of course, visually for people that are watching it, like, man, this suck, man. They just over there walking around, just squeaking on the floor with their shoes and not doing nothing. It's like, no, they are doing something. It's just that you haven't dived into that aspect of the game, so you don't understand what's going on. But yeah, it's just a state of fighting games. Like, I mean, he still won. He got 5 titles. So I don't think it's gonna really be a problem for him. I can understand when you're competitive and this is like your livelihood. It's so annoying dealing with all this stuff. So I get it. I understand his concerns. I definitely do. It's like I'm one of the best players in the world, and I just get hit by some random hit into death, and it's like, oh, cool. All right. Would it feel like there was no like real thought or like concept to what just happened? It's just like something happened. I'm dead now. So I understand why he's feeling like that, but it's just fighting games in general right now.
The game is made to cater more to like casual players, and I mean most games are like that now. It's like you said, like that's the state of fighting games in general, and that's just the way it is. And I do think that there is something to be said about being in this position where you're like, oh yeah, man, I used to be real, like Tekken 7 was like this, and this is such a departure from the game that I used to play, the game that I used to love, and now you're just kind of like, oh man, this just ain't it, man. Like but I can kind of get that, especially when you're talking about when you even like games like Soul Calibur, right? The difference between Soul Calibur 2 and Soul Calibur 3, the difference between Soul Calibur 3 and Soul Calibur 4, between Soul Calibur 4 and Soul Calibur 5. You know what I mean? Like there's like a drop off, because somebody moves to the next game. The difference between Street Fighter 5 and Street Fighter 6, like there's gonna be a drop off, and you're gonna be like, oh man, like this game just isn't like the game that I played for like 4-5 years, and then you got to kind of like almost in some way. I mean, there is like legacy knowledge, but there's also like kind of starting from ground zero, from square one in some regards, and you're kind of like, and with all the knowledge that's out there, like you were saying before, it's like everybody catches up so quick, and now everybody knows all these tricks, and they learn them around the same time as as you do. And then of course, Arslan Ash is somebody who, he's a pro. So people are watching your matches and they're learning how to fight you. It used to be that, like you're saying before, like it's all isolated, right? And like nobody really has a chance to really learn how to fight you unless they were there when the match happened or like they were actually the one playing you. But now it's like everybody gets to go online, they get to see all your matches, they get to see how you play and everything, and they get to learn all of your tendencies, you know, and they get to learn from you. They get to learn from you how to beat you. So I don't know, man. It's like, I mean, it's the game itself, but then I guess it's all the stuff around the game too, I guess. So I mean, in addition, the game being volatile, like I said, like you're saying before, you got that's what brings in the crowd, man. Like that's what it takes in order to draw a crowd, in order to get people who are casuals to buy the game, even if they don't play it for more than a couple months, they still got your money. And then even you might like say, hey, here's a cool DLC, and they'll come back and they might buy the DLC just because you released it. So I don't know, man. It's definitely a new age of fighting games, that's for sure.
Yeah, Arslan Ash basically became the GOAT of Tekken just from Tekken 7. Like, well, just what he was able to accomplish in Tekken 7, you just got to put him in GOAT status. So basically, you can say that he had a reign in Tekken 7 that was just like anything that we've ever seen. And he's a competitive player. You know, he's somebody that wants to get better. He's somebody that wants to be the best. He wants to stay on top. That's how people like him can continue to win. You got to care about it. So I feel like with him coming into Tekken 8, and he's still winning, but I don't feel like he feels like he's dominating the way he did in Tekken 7. I don't feel like he has like a grip of Tekken 8 the way he knew he did in Tekken 7. And I feel like that bothers him. You know, even though it's like he's still winning Evo. He's still somebody that you have to watch out at these tournaments, even though he's not, as good as in Tekken 8 as he was in Tekken 7. Like, you gotta respect him. But I feel like for him, it's just tough for him to cope with that I'm not as good as I know I can be, or I just want myself to be. So that's why you probably constantly hearing him complaining about the game, because a lot of stuff like that, if something came up in Tekken 7 that he felt like he needs to overcome, okay, he did it because he consistently kept winning. But with this, I feel like he just feels like it's kind of like leaning into that modern fighting game conversation. It's just like you're getting to a point to where everybody can do what you can do. Everybody got a chance. And with these 50-50 mix-up, skip, neutral, rage, right in your face, all this offensive heavy stuff, it's just like, man, it's like it's so much more to control. I feel like I can't really separate myself the way I want to. It's hard to deal with so much stuff. I wish you would change, but it's just kind of the way fighting games are going. And it's just like, you just gotta, they want new people into the game, man. If they kept making Tekken like they was making Tekken 2 or 3 or 4 and all this other stuff, like if they didn't implement rage arts, rage drives, and all this other stuff, it wouldn't be as appealing to. And I already had this conversation about 3D games and stuff like that. Like, they want more eyes on their product, so it's like they're just trying to find a mix. How do I keep my legacy fan base happy, but at the same time, I want to bring new people in. So I feel like he's just having a hard time coping with his skill level in Tekken 8 more than it is so much that not saying that Tekken 8 doesn't have stuff that it needs to change, but I feel like it's just his championship mindset that's really making it hard for him to keep to not talk so bad about the game.